Yeah, we got some good shit to kick 2015 off with. At MGM Grand, Las Vegas, Nevada, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we got UFC 182, Jon Jones defending his light heavyweight crown against Daniel Cormier, going for his 8th title defense. Now, he's already shattered the old record in his division held by Tito Ortiz with 5, but now he's going for Anderson Silva's UFC record with 10 successful title defenses. But first, he's got to go against this big brute, strong ass motherfucking Daniel Cormier. Can he get it done? Can he reach number 8? Let's break this shit down. So, Jon Jones, 20 wins, 1 loss. Of his 20 wins, he has 9 KOs, 6 submissions, and 5 decision wins. Daniel Cormier, who's 15-0, 6 KOs, 4 submissions with 5 decision wins. Now, of Jon Jones, his one disqualification loss was against Matt Hamill back in 2009. And it's for doing the 6-12 elbow. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's when you strike your opponent in a vertical motion across the face, 6-12, right? 12-6, however you want to say it. That's illegal in the UFC. Now, I've seen a lot of other ridiculous ass illegal shit go on in the UFC, and I've seen motherfuckers get kicked in the nuts, seen eyes, getting gouged and shit, and the referees basically turn a blind eye. But nevertheless, it is what it is. Jon Jones, he got caught doing it. Now he has to suffer the consequence of having an L on his record. But leading up to that 6-12 elbow, Jon Jones was getting ready to get a KO win because the referee was in there getting ready to stop the fight before he saw that. He was beating the shit out of Matt Hamill. So if he wouldn't have done a 6-12, he would have been 21-0 with 10 KOs right now going against Daniel Cormier. So essentially, this is an undefeated fight, an undefeated title fight, that is, because nobody's gone in the ring and actually defeated Jon Jones. So this is an undefeated title fight, something that we don't get in the UFC because anything could happen in the UFC. I mean, you can go in there against a guy that you're supposed to beat and get your ass slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? So ask Renan Barral that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like the business. But one thing I want to say about Daniel Cormier is that he's extremely fucking cocky. You know what I'm saying? And it's good. It's good to be cocky, right? It's good to have exuberating confidence in yourself, because you don't go into a fight, whether it be boxing, UFC, MMA, a street fight, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You don't go into the fight thinking your opponent is going to kick the shit out of you. You don't want to concede to the idea that your opponent is a better fighter than you. You don't want to have that Leo Santa Cruz mindset, for those of you who know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? You don't want to have that. You're supposed to be like, yeah, I'm the big dog in this division. I'm the motherfucker, not you. You got to go through me, right? That's the way you're supposed to think. But see, the problem here is that I believe Daniel Cormier, based on, how he's talking about Jon Jones, he thinks Jon Jones is trash. Like, he has the cockiness and the confidence, right? But at the same time, he thinks Jon Jones really isn't a good fighter. And boy, I tell you, if he really believes that going into this fight, he's going to have a long-ass fucking night, right? Jon Jones' resume speaks for its fucking self. I mean, he's beaten them all. Machida, Rampage, Shogun, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Alexander Gustafsson, fucking Glover Teixeira. He's beaten them all, etc. You know what I'm saying? So, what he's done for the sport, you gotta fucking respect this dude. You can't go into a fight, if you have a fight scheduled with this guy, have the mindset that, oh, he ain't really shit. It's like kind of the same thing Rashad Evans had, but Rashad Evans is, his mindset is a little bit, it's easier to understand because he actually sparred with Jon Jones, and apparently he had the upper hand in sparring. So it's better, you can understand why, Rashad Evans would think that way if that was a fact, that he had the upper hand in sparring. Cormier never sparred with this guy to my knowledge, right? They're from two different fucking academies. So he's never sparred with this guy. He's just looking at what he's done, and he's like, oh, he's whack. And I hope to God it's for promotional purposes. I really do, because you know, it's one thing to have confidence, talk shit in the media, right? Yeah, fuck this dude, I'm the shit, dude can't mess with me, blah blah blah, right? It's one thing to do that and then go back to your training camp and have respect for your fighter. Understand the things that he's done. It wasn't handed to him, and this could be a tough fight. And it's another to believe, to be cocky in the media, and then go back to your training camp and really believe what you say. You know what I'm saying? And see, me, I can look at a motherfucker, right? And I can listen to you. And I could tell based on how you talk. If you're standing in front of me, it's based on how you talk and your body language. I can tell whether or not you believe what you say. If I'm just hearing you, I can tell by the low and high pitches, the frequency in your voice. I can tell whether you believe what you're saying. And listening to Cormier, I really believe that he thinks Jon Jones is trash. And that's going to be a fucking problem, man. I've stated in an earlier prediction video for MMA, it was the one with Anthony Pettis and Gilbert Melendez. I stated that I believe Jon Jones is the best fighter in the UFC. I believe Jon Jones is the best fighter in MMA sports history. He is. Jon Jones, to me, is the Floyd Mayweather of the UFC. He's only had one close fight, and it was against Alexander Gustafsson. And I'll tell you why that fight matters in a moment here. But that was the only fight that he's had that was close. It was the only fight that we all watched, and we're like, damn, Jon Jones could possibly lose this fight, right? His last two fights, the last one with Glover Teixeira, he dominated him. Teixeira, right? Dude was dominant in the UFC. Being talked about as one of the best fighters, could be one of the best fighters ever. Jon Jones put a halt to that bullshit with ease. You actually could see in the fight that he's in there playing around with Teixeira, like doing new shit in there. You know what I'm saying? It was an easy win. And then the fight before that, of course, was against Gustafsson. They both went to decision. Both his last two fights anyway went to decision. So he's been coasting lately. A lot of people think that his fire is dying down, particularly with that Gustafsson win. And Teixeira, it's, even though he dominated him, they believe that he should have at least knocked him out or submitted him, right? So a lot of people think that Jon Jones' fire is dying down, and this is the right time for Daniel Cormier. One thing I want to get to about Cormier is that my eyes have been opened for this guy, and it was when he defeated Josh Barnett in Strikeforce. Now, Josh Barnett back in Strikeforce, he was the dude, right, in Cormier's division. I think it was heavyweight division in that league. But he was the guy. He was the most popular fighter, one of the most popular fighters in Strikeforce anyway, right? Everyone was like, oh man, when Josh Barnett gets signed to the UFC, man, he's going to be fucking dominant, man. Nobody's going to beat that guy, right? Right? So that was Josh Barnett. Daniel Cormier, they were just like, oh, he's a good wrestler. That's all they said about Cormier, right? He didn't have nearly the publicity that Josh Barnett had in Strikeforce. Oh man, but when these two motherfuckers fought, it was like Cormier was Josh Barnett and Barnett was Cormier in terms of popularity. Cormier should have been the heavy favorite, like fucking minus 1,800 or some shit like that. The way that he threw Josh Barnett around the octagon like he was a fucking ragdoll. I mean, he just threw him around, dude, like he was a bitch. Every takedown that he attempted, he got with ease. Easy fight, no competition, right? That was the eye-opener fight for me. That's when I was like, Daniel Cormier is a fucking beast. Dude is strong as shit, right? If you let this dude grab you, it's lights out, man. You going up and down. You going up and down. He's going to body slam your ass. He has ridiculous amounts of strength. He kind of reminds me of a young Rampage and Pride. Remember when Rampage was motherfucking power bombing cats and shit in Pride? That's the type of shit Cormier does today. You know what I'm saying? Very, very, very strong. And it's mainly because he has a short frame and all this power in that little ass frame that he can do it with. That's where it comes from. A lot of power in his legs, man. He has a lot of weight in a small frame. That's why. Excellent wrestler. He also has excellent defensive takedown, man. Both of these guys actually do. Jon Jones has defended 97% of his takedowns. Given his resume, that's fucking excellent. Like I just said, he's fought them all. So given his resume, that's fucking excellent, right? Daniel Cormier has defended 100% of the takedowns attempted on him. Translation: he's never been taken down before. Now, I don't give a fuck if you fighting Pee Wee Herman, man. That's ridiculous. That is a beautiful display of takedown defense. But it still matters that you're fighting Pee Wee Herman in reality, right? And that's pretty much what Daniel Cormier has been fighting, with the exception of 2 fighters, and I'll get to them in a minute. Daniel Cormier's last opponent was Dan Henderson. Now, this is the biggest fight in the eyes of UFC commentators, fans, fighters, the whole fight game, right? This is the biggest win of Daniel Cormier's career. But this is the kicker, though. Dan Henderson lost 3 of his last 4 fights before going into the Daniel Cormier matchup. So that means he was really washed up. He was a washed up fighter. I guarantee you Dan Henderson thought about retiring 3 fucking times before fighting Cormier, right? So, in reality, how big is this win against Dan Henderson, right? In my opinion, that's not the biggest fight. The biggest fight, or at least the 2 biggest fights that Daniel Cormier has won and that people need to respect him for, I already mentioned one was against Josh Barnett. That wasn't even in the UFC. But his biggest UFC win was against Roy Nelson. And the reason why these 2 guys, in my opinion, are the biggest wins on his resume is because they pose the biggest threats. Josh Barnett is an excellent boxer. He's a free-for-all fighter, free-range fighter. He does everything, right? Roy Nelson's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he also has great wrestling ability. So these 2 guys are great at what Daniel Cormier does, right? They pose the biggest threat, and he dominated both of these guys. So in my opinion, if you want to respect the wins or some wins that Daniel Cormier has, not the Dan Henderson win, it's the Roy Nelson and Josh Barnett wins. But this is the issue, though. In my honest to God opinion, straight from the heart, Jon Jones would dominate Josh Barnett and Roy Nelson the same fucking night. Basically, what I'm saying is these 2 guys, including Dan Henderson, are nowhere near Jon Jones's level, man. They're nowhere near his level. So this is a major step up for Daniel Cormier. It's major. And like I said earlier, I hope to God he's not thinking this ain't a step up. This fight is another easy win for him, because he's got another thing coming. He's 35 years old. Will that be a problem? I don't know. But he's 35 years old. Jon Jones is 27 years old. The prime of his career. Completely dominant. Has never lost to anyone. It's going to be a good matchup. Let me get to Jon Jones, though. With him, and this plays into who I believe is going to win. You know, I have blueprints for the 2 best fighters in the world, right? The 2 best fighters in the respectable boxing and MMA sports, right? Floyd Mayweather and Jon Jones, in my opinion, are the 2 best fighters in the world, right? But I have blueprints for both of them. I know what needs to be done to beat these guys, or at least have a good chance. With Jon Jones, we've already seen it. Alexander Gustafsson. Now, there's a buddy I have that I used to work with. When that fight was made, I was telling him, I was like, man, Gustafsson has a great chance to win this fight. He has an excellent chance to win this fight because he has the same kind of reach that Jon Jones has. Jon Jones is 6'4". He has an 81 to 83 inch reach. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's in the low 80s, right? Gustafsson was like the same height, 6'3", with an 81 inch reach, somewhere in there. And they fought the same type of style, right? I told him, I said, this is what is going to give Jon Jones problems. Now, my buddy, he didn't think so. He thought Jon Jones was going to run through Alexander Gustafsson. But when they fought, though, me and him were on the phone with each other like two yelling ass motherfuckers, yo. Yelling at the TV screen like, oh shit, I can't believe it, right? Because Jon Jones was losing. And it was because of the fact that he had the same type of fighting style as Jon Jones, and he used it, to pretty much get ahead in the fight. He used it. So that's pretty much what happened there. But see, when Alexander Gustafsson did that 180 and ran from Jon Jones, literally, that's what ended the fight. At that point in time, that's when I was like, oh, this shit's over with. But in the early rounds of that fight, man, Gustafsson, he was beating him. Now, same with Floyd Mayweather, you don't go in there and throw 100 fucking punches around, you know what I'm saying, and be sloppy with it like Oscar De La Hoya and Marcos Maidana. That's not how you beat him. You got to do the same thing Floyd Mayweather does. You have to beat him at his own game, right? You have to have the smarts, and you have to have the ability that he has and beat him at his own game. Now, there ain't too many motherfuckers out there that can do that, and the ones that can do that, they're not even in Floyd Mayweather's division, right? But that's my point, though. You have to beat him at his own game. It takes a special fighter to beat him. The same thing with Jon Jones. It takes a special fighter to beat him. Do I think Daniel Cormier beats Jon Jones? I can't see it happening. And this is why. If Jon Jones is as smart as I think he is, if he is truly the Floyd Mayweather of the UFC, then he has one game plan he needs to do, and it's one easy-ass game plan at that. Don't do anything else. And that's just use your distance. Daniel Cormier is too short, and his arms are too short, which means he has absolutely no outside game against the tall, rangy Jon Jones. So basically, he only has one game plan, and that is to get on the inside, try to land strikes on the inside to try to dent Jon Jones's chin and take him down. That's his game plan. That's all Cormier can do. Now, granted, Cormier has excellent footwork for a big guy. That's something that he's underrated on, right? Excellent footwork. That's how he gets on the inside of a lot of his opponents and gets takedowns. Combination of great footwork and excellent strength. But see, let me tell you this, though. This is something that Jon Jones is highly underrated on. Similar to Floyd Mayweather being highly underrated in boxing for his chin. We've seen Floyd Mayweather take big shots against Shane Mosley and Marcos Maidana, right? The same shots that respectfully knocked out Antonio Margarito and knocked down Adrian Broner twice, right? And he took those shots and kept standing and went on to dominate the fight in both instances. With Jon Jones, he's highly underrated with his power and strength, right? Jon Jones is strong as fuck. I don't think he's as strong as Daniel Cormier, but I do think he's strong enough to hold him off. Look at what he did to Rampage. The only motherfucker to submit Rampage like the way that he did. He just threw Rampage to the ground and made him tap out like he was a bitch. Look what he did to Chael Sonnen. Now, Chael Sonnen's not a world beater, granted, but he ain't no scrub. I mean, his popularity, it came from his mouth more than it came from his skills in the octagon, but he wasn't a scrub. He gave Anderson Silva all he could handle in their first fight. But Jon Jones went in there and just pretty much picked this bitch up and threw him. That's exactly what he did. Just throw him to the mat. It was like, come here, bitch. Throw him on the mat and just beat the shit out of him until they waved it off with the fucked up toe. This dude is strong as shit, man. And it's mainly because he has very strong legs. He's 6'4", so a smaller Cormier, he should have an advantage at being able to take Jon Jones down, right? Remember, only 3% of the time has Jon Jones been taken down and his impressive resume. He's fought the upper echelon in his division and only been taken down 3% of the time. So you would think Cormier has an advantage, right? But Jon Jones's legs are so fucking strong, he's able to bend at the waist, and that's what keeps these guys from taking him down. And that's the same thing with Daniel Cormier. That's why Cormier has great takedown defense, because he's so short. When you try to get the takedown on him, he bends at the waist and puts all of that 215, 220 pound frame in his legs. So it's like trying to pick up two big ass cinder blocks. You're not going to be able to do it. That's how he defends the takedown. So, with that said, basically with Jon Jones' underrated strength that you're going to be able to see in this fight, if Daniel Cormier actually does get on the inside and takes him down, what is he going to be able to do on the mat, right? Can he dominate the strong Jon Jones on the mat? Granted, Cormier is stronger because he's a smaller guy with the same weight. But can he dominate Jon Jones on the mat, right? Also, like I said, given the fact that Cormier has one game plan, all Jon Jones has to do is use his reach. Use all 81 to 83 inches. Use what you've done in the past. Just use your kicks to keep the distance. If Jon Jones is as smart as I think he is, this should be an uneventful fight, right? It should be just Jon Jones at a distance picking Daniel Cormier apart as he tries to get on the inside for 5 rounds. That's what this should look like. Now, if he's playing to the fans, you'll see him on the inside in the middle of the octagon with Daniel Cormier. Much like I'm talking about playing just as much as Anderson Silva did when he was trying to act like he was hurt in the first fight against Chris Weidman, and then he gets his dumb ass knocked out. That's how much playing to the crowd that I believe this will be if Jon Jones is in the center of the octagon inside with Daniel Cormier, because he's given him the opportunity to get his stubby ass arms around him. It's an easy ass 100% foolproof game plan for Jon Jones if he stays on the outside, and that's exactly why I think he cruises to a unanimous decision. Also, I gotta speak on this. If this fight looks anything like that pre-fight presser, Jon Jones pretty much knocked this motherfucker to the ground with ease, then it could be a quicker night than a UD. So, what do y'all think? Do y'all think Jon Jones is one of the best fighters in the UFC? Do you think Daniel Cormier will be the one to knock him off his throne? Let me know what y'all think in the comments section. But be real. This is real talk for real fans. 1.